feel it. I feel it. I really love this movie, Paul. So beware. You know what happens when Jade really loves a movie. Good Lord.
Yeah. Yeah. That I disappoint you in so many ways.
But gorgeous listeners, I'm so excited to bring you this bonus film review episode from my other podcast, Shall We Compare Thee, with my friend Paul, where we usually discuss remakes and sequels of classic films, but right now, because of Only Murders in the Building going on, we are doing a special MVP series, Murderers, Villains, and Private Eyes, giving you more murder mystery content that I know you are craving, just like I am. Can never have enough murder mystery. So all of these MVP episodes are also available as short YouTube videos. The full-length video, as always, is on our Patreon. That's patreon.com/perfectlymarvelouspodcast. And all of the links are in the description. Next up in the series, we did a review of Dial M for Murder. And the short video is already available now. And the podcast will be ready very soon. After that, we plan to do a Columbo episode reviewing our favorite episodes of that show. And if you have suggestions for what episodes of Columbo we should cover, please do let us know. We take requests. And don't forget to subscribe to our Shall We Compare Thee podcast feed so you never miss a new episode. We've got a bunch already there for you to check out. So many hours of enjoyment. And now, without further ado, enjoy this review of one of my favorite films of all time, Clue. Good evening, folks. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Jade.
And I'm Paul.
And this is Shall We Compare Thee, a remake and sequel podcast.
Except when it's not.
Yes. 'Tis the season to murder mystery, with Only Murders in the Building in full swing. And if you haven't yet, definitely give the show a watch. And then check out my other podcast, Perfectly Marvelous Only Murders in the Building. Links in the description.
So we are temporarily switching gears to what we are calling our MVP series.
Yeah.
Murderers, Villains, and Private Eyes.
Woo! Count me in, baby.
So it'll be a little less of the comparison podcast and a little more mystery.
Oh, I cannot wait. You know you want it, listeners. You know you love it. So we're giving it to you. So without further ado, let's talk about Clue.
Every person in this room has the perfect motive.
Stand back!
For murder.
What do you mean? Murder.
But only one of these suspects is the murderer. Is it the timid Mr. Green?
Why are you screaming? Because I'm frightened of what? Screaming!
Or the militant Colonel Mustard?
If I was the killer, I would kill you next.
Huh?
Said if.
Mrs. White, who helped her husband on his way?
Well, it's a matter of life after death. Now that he's dead, I have a life.
Miss Scarlet, who's helped many men along the way?
Practice makes perfect. Huh.
Professor Plum, who's looking for a way?
I'm looking.
Mrs. Peacock?
I have absolutely no idea what we're doing here, but I am determined to enjoy myself.
Or did the butler do it?
No.
Paramount Pictures invites you to an evening of mystery.
Let us in! Let us in! Let us out! Let us out!
Murder.
This is getting quite serious.
And madness. In the movie that makes a scene of the crime.
So hold it!
Clue. It's not just a game anymore.
So let's talk about this movie, this Clue movie. One of the first game movies that has ever come across. I mean, now we've had Battleship, now we've had Barbie, the toy, and Twister. Well, that was a tornado thing, but
Transformers, right?
Transformers. Those are robots in disguise, guys. They're robots in disguise. But this was one of the first ones to take a game property and make it into a movie. This is a John Landis idea. John Landis, who made great movies like Animal House, Trading Places. Let's not even talk about what happened on the Twilight Zone movie. But he handed this off to Jonathan Lynn, who has done a lot of comedies, did My Cousin Vinny, Trial and Error, did all those things like that. They originally wanted Tom Stoppard to write it, Real Inspector Hound, one of my favorite plays doing in college.
Yeah, this was very funny to me to learn about the Tom Stoppard thing, that he was like, he was signed on to write it, he agreed, he tried for a year, and then just couldn't. So like about a year to the date, he sent the check back and said, I can't do it. I got nothing for you. And now later, years later, when he was interviewed and asked about it, he goes, I have no recollection of this. I'm like, I don't know if that's a him thing or if if it's because he doesn't want it. It's selective memory for a reason. I don't know.
I bet that's probably pretty like you don't remember the jobs you didn't take. One of those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. Yeah.
That was something that happened way back in the day, and I just don't even remember. I mean, Stephen Sondheim was attached to this for a moment. Our beloved Anthony Perkins was attached to this for a moment.
And can I just say,
sure.
the scripts that they probably wrote together that never saw the light of day, I would give my left tit. I just would, like to see those, do the work that has gone unproduced from those two, because they were murder mystery, crazy heads. And The Last of Sheila, I know they had more in them. And it's tragic that we'll never see those scripts.
That's a good point. And as we get into this, I think this script could have used a little bit more of that real good mystery writing. But not to get too ahead of ourselves.
I can only imagine how different and probably better of a mystery this would be if those two were writing it.
Yeah. There was a bunch of different casting ideas. Carrie Fisher was going to be Miss Scarlet for a moment, and then the drug rehab thing came up for her. Rowan Atkinson was rumored to be the butler at one point, which but then I think would have changed. Rowan Atkinson's still around. He's Mr. Bean.
Oh, no, right, duh. Leonard Rossiter was who I was thinking of, sorry.
Yeah. Which I looked at that face and I was like, I've seen that face. I don't know the actor, but I have seen that face in so many things.
Yeah,
Might not have been bad. Although I think they hit a home run with Tim Curry. I mean, imagine
home run
this
out
movie,
of the park.
Imagine this movie without him at the center of that. And I don't think you have the entertainment value goes down quite a bit. I think without Tim Curry in this, his energy, there's moments where his energy is really keeping the whole thing afloat.
He is truly a tour de force.
Yeah. He is the Energizer Bunny of this movie. This is for you now, a childhood movie. I'm assuming you saw this either on VHS, DVD, or cable. When did you first see this?
It is shocking to me that I never owned this film. I probably rented this from Blockbuster every other time I went to Blockbuster as a kid.
Right.
I mean,
you could have owned it by that point.
I did. It's like, seriously, from the library, from Blockbuster, this was another Peter Pan kind of thing where I just rented it so much. I probably burned that tape right into the ground. I mean, yeah, I watched this so much. I remember when I first saw it, it was right after my parents got divorced and we were having movie night, me and my sister and my dad. And, he was like, I know you guys are going to like this. You're going to love this. And I was thinking to myself, I saw like the box and it just didn't grab me. It was like a house. I think that it's got a terrible, well, not terrible, but it didn't stand out to me as being like a kid funny thing. And I just looked at it like this dark colored, haunted house kind of picture on the box. And I was like,
it's very haunted house looking. It almost reminded me of like the Addams Family cover.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't look like it's a mystery. It looks like it's a scary movie of some sort.
And I was never really a big fan of the Addams Family, and so I'm sure that's why it turned me off, because the Addams Family always kind of bored me as a kid. It was just never my thing. From the second they started sniffing their shoes about the dog poop, I was just like, what is this? This is something. What is happening here? And the humor was something that as a kid I had never had never seen before, and I didn't know that this was my sense of humor until I saw this film, and I was like, oh, this is my funny. This is me. This is my humor in a film. And
well, they're trading off.
It helped me develop my sense of humor. I really, truly, firmly believe that this film.
Well, they're really trying to trade off on the the Howard Hawks, His Girl Friday, like rapid fire dialogue, and trying to keep that sort of sense of patter up. Yeah.
Did you know that they screened, I think it was Jonathan Lynn who screened His Girl Friday to the cast once everyone got together.
Oh.
I think it was like after the table read.
Sense.
And he said, this is the kind of energy that the film's going to live or die by. Like, do this. This is what we need to have. That's so crazy that you say that. Yeah, because you're dead. You're spot on. His Girl Friday.
Well, yeah, there are certain conversations that they're having that have that sort of back and forth, that sort of rapid fire, line, punchline, onto the next thing, which I think goes with the setting of the movie back in the 50s. It's going with that sort of old-timey sort of feel to it. Like if they had shot this in black and white, you could really kind of get the vibe that they were really trying to go kind of screwball mystery, which is, by the way, screwball mystery, not a genre mix that usually happens.
No.
So they are trying something here that doesn't usually work.
Yeah. If it happened more, I would be very pleased. Please let screwball comedy happen more. I mean, let screwball mystery happen more, please. Screwball
mystery. Yeah. That's I can't even think of another one right now that really uses that sort of energy to also be a mystery and a comedy at the same time.
Well, it's odd because you think of Murder by Death, but that is such a parody. And this Clue, I don't consider really a parody. It's its own thing. It truly is a screwball murder mystery. That's what it is. It's different from Murder by Death, which is just parody, straight up,
Yeah. Tell me about your favorite scene. Or give me a couple of them. Your favorites.
The weird thing is separating this film into scenes is strange because the whole thing feels like one big long continuous scene. I really think of this film as having like acts, like three or four acts. Maybe it's got a very clear beginning, middle, and end. So there's like pre Mr. Body dying, after Mr. Body dying, and then how they done it, the denouement by Wadsworth.
Right.
So I there's not one single part of this film that I don't absolutely love. So I could say every scene, but when everyone gets there, they've all arrived and they all go into dinner. I just can't, the patience that they have and the trust that they put in the audience to get interested in these characters, they really take their time in some moments. And you really... these kinds of long silences and long it's literally just people at a table eating, looking awkwardly at each other, and it's fucking hilarious because these are comedic geniuses. I just love that the film trusts its actors and it believes in its audience enough to get it. Because I get it, man. It's so funny. It's just that sipping the soup. I mean, who's got that kind of time nowadays? They don't make them like this anymore,
Yeah. I wrote down, is the slurping supposed to be funny?
Oh, not for you.
I'm going to disappoint you on this.
No, it's okay. Speak your truth. Be you.
I laughed 4 times total in this whole movie, to the point where I could write down, I thought this movie was terribly directed, badly edited. The pacing of the jokes, where every joke seemed to be either held too long or too short.
Interesting.
It's a very theatrical show. I could see them putting this. I think they actually did a stage version of this in some places.
Yeah.
Because it's one setting. You're going from room to room. It's a murder mystery. And you could feel at times, like the slurping of the soup, that they're holding for laughs. And so, were there laughs? I have another confession to make. I saw this movie when it came out in 1985.
Yeah, in theaters.
In the theater. I have not seen it since. So, a lot of this stuff was very fresh to me. And it just, the timing of stuff was just off. We talk about that screwball energy. Go back and watch His Girl Friday, and as soon as they land a joke, they are on their way to the next one.
Yeah, it's true.
I feel like, in particular, Martin Mull slows down so many moments in this where he goes, where it's like back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. And then he says, he gets zinged with something and he says, "That's right." And he looks at the person, but there's no reaction on his face. And then there's a pause, and then they move on to the next thing. They don't.
Oh my God, no, you're missing it, because I know the moment you're talking about. He's saying, "Are you trying to make me look stupid in front of the other guests? You don't need any help from me, sir." That's right.
That's right.
Yes, the pause is right, though. You need that pause because it's him realizing, did I just shit? I think anyway. He's a total dumbass. I think it's hilarious.
But go back to that scene and you will see that he doesn't have that expression on his face. He just says, "That's right." Off. And it's like,
I see it's so different.
Yeah. I could see that in like a Howard Hawks thing where somebody would go, "Yeah, that's right. Wait a second," and kind of have that moment of like,
see, that to me would be indicating too much. That to me would be indicating.
Exactly.
I love that he does it inwardly, that he doesn't push it and that he doesn't make it obvious. I love that he just lets it sit.
I didn't see it inward or outward. I just saw it just like, I thought, right. I felt it slowing down the pace of the thing.
Wow.
So I can go through the things that I found funny. Cause it's, the first real laugh I had is when Jane Whelan gets shot. The singing telegram gets shot because it's so abrupt, and that timing of that was perfect.
Yeah.
She gets through her one line, gunshot, fall down, we're over. And then I'll just go through them quickly. Yvette dead on the pool table, and they all go in, and they're so done with murders at this point that
they're just nonplussed.
Turn around. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. When somebody says there's been 6 murders and Tim Curry says, "This is getting serious." Hilarious. Again, Tim Curry is working his butt off on this movie.
Yeah.
And then
he's earning that paycheck, all right.
Oh, so good. So good. But then they have him frantically running around, that whole pace of them running back and forth from scene to scene and recreating the thing that we've already seen. We've already seen, he's recreating the movie for us. It's like, no, we've been sitting here watching this movie.
Are you still talking about your favorite scenes?
Well, no, I will. Okay. I will pass the torch to you. Talk about more of your favorite stuff.
Well,
I'm kind of done.
I could talk about everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, going back to that dinner scene, for example, like I said, getting to know each one of the characters, the introduction to, say, like Mrs. Peacock.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that you get so much in such a little amount of time. Okay, like take it back even further. The introduction between Professor Plum and Miss Scarlet. It's the time that they take with these characters. I think that this is the reason that I love it so much, is because I'm getting invested as the film is getting started. It doesn't waste a beat. Every look and it's all necessary to get to know these people. So Professor Plum picks up Miss Scarlet, and the way he does it, the way that she sticks her butt out to the car, she doesn't think to herself, she knows that she'll have a better chance of getting picked up if she sticks her ass out rather than her face and like puts her hand out like, "Hello, can you help me?" Like, she knows, she's so confident, says so much about her, and I'm already on board. Same thing with Professor Plum when he lets her into the car. When he pulls up to the house and she says, "Why is the car stopped?" and he says, "It's frightened."
That was a good line.
Yeah.
That was a very good line.
And it says so much about him. He is like this, he has this one note throughout the entire film of he's got the hardest job, God. And I think his character is probably, Professor Plum is probably the most underwritten. You can tell that he is hesitant as an actor. He's got a scene, So yeah, Christopher Lloyd, he's got the most underwritten and underdeveloped character. He plays this gross, very pervy guy, and he's pervy to everyone. It's every woman he's a perv to. He's, to Mrs. Peacock even, he has that moment where he says, "It's you and me, honey bunch." Like, he doesn't discriminate, And he's hesitant, I feel, Christopher Lloyd, because he wasn't as experienced as the other actors at this point in his career. And there's a quote that I love of his. It says, "It was a hardcore group of real actors who had a lot of work behind them. I felt kind of like a beginner. I was just hoping I could hold up my part well enough to blend in." And that's exactly what I see that he's doing. He's giving so little. And this part is, like I said, the most underwritten. He doesn't have a whole lot to work with. But when he does things like, "The car is frightened," I'm laughing so hard because he's unsure underneath, deep down. He's like, it's his hitting on women is just a cover, and he's not really that confident. You can totally tell. And every time that the camera is on him, he does seem really stiff, but it works for the character. I think he's perfectly cast. And that stiffness wouldn't ever translate and for any other role, I don't think, except for this. The casting is just spot on.
See, I think that line is so great because it's kind of a parody line of like, this is what happens in these movies. The car stops and you get to see the mansion in the distance.
Right.
Maybe a thunderclap behind it. And there's no reason for the car to stop, but they stop to kind of like take in the moment and know that they're going to some place that's a little bit spooky. And then they kind of continue on their way. So I love that line. It kind of was a little nod to like, we know what we're doing here. We're putting on a little show for you all.
Yeah.
But I didn't get the same character depth that you got from most of everybody.
Like the part with Mrs. Peacock where where they're sipping the soup and everything, and she has to, well, someone's got to break the ice, and it might as well be me. See, I'm used to being a hostess. It's part of my husband's work, and it's always difficult when a group of new friends meet for the first time to get acquainted, and so I'm perfectly prepared to start the ball rolling. I have absolutely no idea what we're doing here, what I'm doing here, what this place is about, but I am determined to enjoy myself, and I'm very intrigued, and oh my, this soup's delicious, isn't it? It's just, you get so much out of just 2 seconds, you know exactly who this person is. It's great.
Yeah.
Or Miss Scarlet with her, double entendres, I'll keep something warm for him. What'd you have in mind, dear? Lesley Ann Warren is killing it throughout this. Oh,
Lesley Ann Warren does more just by how she stands. It's like hands on the hips,
body and face.
Yeah. But like, I mean, this is, as you were saying before, this is a knockout cast. I mean, there's no denying that. Michael McKean, Spinal Tap the year before, just amazing. Laverne and Shirley. Martin Mull from Fernwood Tonight. You've got Lesley Ann Warren, who I love, and Victor Victoria is one of my favorite movies. Tim Curry, of course, the Rocky Horror and all that. And it's a great.
You're not saying
Lloyd at this point.
Your favorite Madeline Kahn? Did you say Madeline Kahn?
Oh, I haven't gotten to Madeline Kahn.
Right.
We always leave Madeline Kahn for dessert. Because but here is one of the problems with this movie. And I'll go back to the fact that I watched this movie in the theater. In my little town, we didn't get A, B, or C choices. We just got the movie. And I believe the ending that I saw was the first ending, the Miss Scarlet ending, if I remember correctly. But in most cities, they would have multiplexes, and you could choose. You go see your A ending, your B ending, your C ending.
Well, that got messed up. Did you know that?
And that got messed up, so that maybe you went to see the A ending one week, and then the next week you're like, let's try that C ending, and then it turned out to be the A ending again. So it was a
people were pissed. The ending thing did not work out.
Well, and the other problem too is that, like the Flames, the great Flames thing, I never saw it.
Only in one ending. Can you imagine?
I never saw it.
Oh,
I never saw it.
Tragic.
So later, like years later, I had a friend of mine quoting that to me, and I was like, "What is that from?" She's like, "It's from Clue." And it's like,
crazy.
I don't think that's from Clue. She's like, "Well, no," but she grew up watching it on VHS, DVD, on cable, where they put all the endings all in a row. So she got to see that.
That's how.
I never saw it, and it's like, oh my God, the only improv moment, and it's so brilliant, and it's not in the movie that I saw.
Yeah, the only improv moment.
That stinks, guys. I mean, and did you think that I was going to go back and watch the movie next week? 85-minute movie, and then just for the 3 or 4 minute ending? I didn't. And nobody else did either.
That's the thing. I cannot wrap my brain around.
It was a misfire. It was a total misfire as far as plotting that out goes.
It's completely ironic too that was the almost the one thing that John Landis really wanted was his vision. He really kind of demanded it. You have to write the 4 endings. We're going to give them each to different theaters, and this is how it's going to. I'm seeing it. It's going to be a big hit. Everyone's going to love it. And it's like that's the exact thing that was the movie's complete undoing. Was the thing that he thought would sell it. Sorry, guy.
Right. Well, but that's because, in my opinion, the movie itself isn't engaging enough.
Wow.
To go like, well, I got to see what the other endings are. I mean, it's got to be, you're asking people. I mean, can you imagine now spending $15, $20 on a movie ticket and then being asked, hey, come back next week and see the entire movie except for the last 3 minutes. We're going to give you a different ending. And it's
this was also back in a time.
I'll wait until it's on cable, or I'll wait until it's on DVD or whatever, and then I'll watch your other endings.
This nowadays this would never work because God, who has that kind of money to go to the movies more than once, even if you love a movie? No, this was back in the day when you would go to see movies, like you would see them maybe 2 or 3 times a week. You could afford it, There were also not like on-demand things. So, no one was staying at home to watch movies. You had to go out and see them. So there was a higher chance that people would see it more than once. But no, even back then, even if I loved it as much as I do, I can't imagine that I would be running out to go see it again. I don't think, I don't know how anyone ever backed that choice because it was not a good one, sadly.
I mean, if you're selling it, if you're John Landis and you have a lot of success, you're selling this as we're going to get repeat business. We're going to have it in three of the multiplexes in every theater. People are going to be dying to go back to see what the other endings are. But there's another problem with that. You're trying to build a mystery, and you're doing only murders in the building right now. Can you imagine if you got to the last episode and there was 3 possible murderers and all 3 were supposed to link up to all the evidence you've seen before? What you're telling me with 3 different endings is that none of that matters. None of it matters. There's stuff that's introduced in those last 3 or 4 minutes that aren't introduced in the rest of the movie. There's 2 of those endings have the monkey brain stuff, but one of them doesn't. So that makes no difference. So you're asking, then you're asking people to dive into this mystery when really you should just be asking them to dive into the comedy. If they had just done that, just done one ending, pick your favorite. I think Siskel and Ebert picked the A favorite, the Scarlet favorite, but they didn't like the C
they really were hung
ending.
up on the ending thing. They hated the ending.
They didn't like this. They didn't like the C ending, which the C ending gives you flames.
Yeah.
So that's great, but it also gives you all of a sudden Mr. Green's not gay. He's going to go home and have sex with his wife. Freeze frame. That's your punchline to the end of this movie?
I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.
The best punchline at the end of the movie is when they're like, so how about fruit and dessert? That's the better punchline. Where it's like, okay, let's go back in and have our fruit and dessert now. That's the way better punchline. The hey, just so everybody knows, I'm not gay. Gonna go fuck my wife. That's the worst. That is the worst. But it also has the flames, so it's the best.
Yes, I did it. I killed Yvette. I hated her so much. Flames on the side of my face.
The problems that I have with the characterizations have nothing to do with the actors. I think it's all writing deficiencies that are in this. But I want to ask you, do you have a couple of favorite characters, like the stuff that when you think of this movie really warms your heart?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Lesley Ann Warren, for example. This is my favorite Lesley Ann Warren performance ever. She is always on. Never is her facial expressions, her energy. She's such high energy. Like,
yeah.
There's this part where she suddenly, like, she's listening to Wadsworth explain a bunch of stuff, and then she gets really into what he's saying, and then she runs out and goes, and then we found the secret passage from the conservatory to the lounge where she found the motorist dead. And she's like, so, like, she does this like gasp thing with her voice, like, 'cause she's just so into it. All of a sudden, just to say one sentence, she just gets supercharged. I also love her connection to Tim Curry throughout this whole film. She is always on him. It's like she's always at his side, snickering at, like, when he's poking fun, because all Tim Curry is doing is, like, poking fun at these idiots, you know, like, he's just reading them for filth, you know, and she's I
will say that
she's agreeing with him.
That first scene where he's kind of like revealing why they're there and the blackmail plot and stuff like that. I mean, Tim Curry is so good in that scene.
Oh my God.
Because it's almost like that's the last scene of a murder mystery.
Yeah.
That you usually get with everybody in the room and being like, and you did it because of this, and you did it because of this. And we're starting the movie there, which is a very interesting choice. And I agree. And I agree about Lesley Ann Warren. I mean, I agree about all these actors are doing their jobs, and I think doing them as well as they possibly can.
It's like I get the sense from her and Tim Curry that, like, she's into him in like a sexual way, like her character, because he's the one guy in the whole film who doesn't hit on her, and that's attractive to her. Like, she's impressed with him. Like, there's one part, the third ending, I think, it's revealed that Wadsworth shot who did he shoot? I don't know. Wadsworth shot somebody. Everyone shoots everybody. Yeah. And when it's revealed that he pulls the gun out and he goes, yes, I shot her. It's like her face is so slyly like, yeah, you did, baby. Like, she's impressed, you know? I just can't get over Lesley Ann Warren. When you watch just her. And I've tried this as an experiment because I've seen this film that many times, y'all. I've actually, like, watched the entire thing, the whole ending, just focused on one character. That's a treat.
Oh,
that's worth the price of admission for this whole film. Just to see, you know, Martin Mull or Madeline Kahn or, especially Lesley Ann Warren, but Eileen Brennan, like, just to see the way that they react when Wadsworth is speaking, especially because Lesley Ann Warren turns out to be one of the murderers. So you can see it clicking in her mind. She's always reacting as if, oh yeah, because I killed him. Oh yeah, because I took that key. Oh yeah. And she, like, clutches her necklace at times, and she'll do these, like, side eye glances, or she'll, like, grab her, you know, her waist, and she just, like, touches herself and moves her body in such ways that she's like, oh, I'm guilty. I hope nobody sees it. You know, she's so on. She has no lines. It's you know, minutes and minutes of screen time that she's got no lines, and she is giving so much dialogue with her face and her body language. It's truly something to be marveled at. And I have never been that impressed with Lesley Ann Warren until this is like this is, I think, her best. It's really good.
She's definitely giving what you could call like a silent film performance, where it's like, no, you don't have to say anything. We can tell by your body language. We can tell by the way which hand is on which hip, and which, you know, when your shoulders kind of bend over like this and you're showing a little bit more of the cleavage, and you know, where your chin goes and everything about it. Yeah, she is playing sex like somebody was just like her character thing was like sex personified, and she's like, got it.
Yeah, I don't know that it's ever been done so well. And it's a comedy, and it's over the top and everything, but it never feels like too much. It feels so lived in and so real from her. All of these characters, I think, that's the thing, is like they're all underplaying it, which I love. And even, you know, Eileen Brennan, even when she's just wah, wah, you know, like it's so lived in, it's so believable. It never feels cartoony, you know, and if it does, it's just in the perfect right way.
But that's the problem that I have then, is when it gets cartoony, where they're doing the Scooby-Doo running from room to room and stuff like that, recreating the beginning of the movie again. And it's like, I didn't need that. I didn't want that.
Yeah. The ending to me is that the point is not the whatever it is they're saying, or, you know, to go, like you said, to go through all the events in order. Like, no, the point is to see these great actors run amok And it's fucking
Right.
hilarious. And to play off each other. And also, there's no ad-libbing allowed. They're all on script and they're all making it so believable. Except for, like I said, Christopher Lloyd, who is quite stiff with his line delivery. Still, that stiffness feels right for his character, for his very like uptight professor.
You have at least 3 of the great improvisers, Martin Mull, Michael McKean, and Madeline Kahn.
Yeah.
I mean, these are 3 people. I mean, Michael McKean has made a living off of improvised scripts. And you know he can do it. Let these guys loose a little bit. You don't have that great of a script.
I agree.
I mean, let's where this movie really falls short is the making that screwball comedy, as we talked about at the beginning. The comedy has to be good and the mystery has to be good. Otherwise, one of those things is going to fall down. You can still get laughs out of the vaudeville jokes and the patter and all that sort of stuff. But like all the stuff with like the McCarthy hearings and the nuclear stuff.
I don't think I've ever really paid attention to it.
I had the closed captions on. It was like, oh, this is what this movie's about. And then it turns out it's not what this movie's about at all. It's really just about jokes and the 3 endings. Mysteries have to be ending. I think this is Hitchcock that said this. They have to be surprising and inevitable, right? Your endings have to be surprising and inevitable at the same time. If they're surprising, but it doesn't make any sense and it's not inevitable, it's not going to work. If it's inevitable, but you knew it from minute 1 who did it, then it's not surprising. It's got to be both. You know, the end of Psycho is surprising and inevitable. And he comes into the cellar and he's got the wig on and it's like, it's shocking, but it's also like, of course, that's what's going to happen. That is satisfying. When you have 3 endings that you don't seem to care about other than to get people to go to your movie 3 times, there's just very little care into that thing.
Yeah, you're totally right on about the endings. The endings are the absolutely
the weakest.
The writing, the weakest part of this film for sure. But I don't notice it because I'm too busy watching these amazing comedians do what they do best. So doesn't even matter. I've never cared to make the endings actually make sense for myself until I watched it with a critical eye for this podcast. And I realized, wow, none of this. Nope. It is all contrivance after plot hole after contrivance after plot hole. I mean, it's pretty bad. It is quite bad, I will say. But I never noticed it in 500 times I watched it. I never noticed it until I watched it for this. Just that says something.
Like you talked about this being your gateway drug to mysteries.
Yeah.
You know, it is that sort of like the Fisher-Price's My First Mystery Movie. It's like we can get into the mystery rhythms from this movie without it really delivering a mystery. And this is probably also your gateway drug to like screwball comedy because, you know, you see that sort of stuff and then you go back and watch, you know, His Girl Friday, The Lady Eve, Bringing Up Baby, anything with Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant. I mean, you get Philadelphia Story, then you're starting to get even more of that patter, and you're like, that's how
you're
that's
absolutely
done.
right about that, because there's a reason that I quote this film more than any other film in my life. There's a reason that my sister and I would just have such fun memorizing these quippy lines and going back and forth together, you know. And there's things that we will always say to each other that no one else will ever like get unless you know you're a Clue fan. But like for some reason we just found, and then someone could have run into the study, picked up the dagger, run down the hall and stabbed the cook, and then I don't know why just picked up the dagger. I don't know why the way he says it, like the way Tim Curry enunciates his words just in this over the top random way, just really stood out to us. And it's that kind of humor that just flows through me as an adult today. It's like I am constantly inventing weird ways to say things because of Tim Curry in this film.
But you also share that with somebody that you watch that with. So there's that. I mean, this is good. I mean, you know, I'm taking this movie apart. I'm taking this movie to Tasktown. I know, and I'm sorry to do that. But at the same time, it has nothing to do with the idea that, hey, you guys watched this movie growing up and you loved it. Fantastic. and it led you to other things. It opened up your world to other things. Sometimes you need that first hit.
Yeah.
And then you find other things and you're like, oh, that's the real stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Fast
that's the good
talky,
stuff.
you know, like you were saying, His Girl Friday, that it's like comes out in my other favorite show that I podcasted on, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Gilmore Girls, like that real, 1950s like radio announcer kind of like, hey, how you doing, man? La, 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 la. I got something to say to you. How you la, la, la. Like I just can't get enough of it. It is, and like I said, as a kid, I did not know that this kind of humor existed until this film came into my world. So yeah, it really did a lot for me.
I could actually see if they were going to remake this, call Amy Sherman Palladino and say, do a pass. Paul. Do a pass on this dialogue.
Paul, yes.
Do a pass on this dialogue, because she might be the only writer right now that has that sensibility. And sometimes, like, I haven't seen Mrs. Maisel, but I've seen episodes of Gilmore Girls. Sometimes it's overdone. But when she does it well, I don't think there's anybody else in television especially that does that well.
I can almost guarantee Mrs. Maisel will not grate on you as Gilmore Girls did, because even Gilmore Girls is like it's a bit much for me sometimes. But yeah, Maisel is like, it's her greatest hits album of all the things that she does. Amy Sherman Palladino and Dan Palladino, it's all the things that they do best. Like it took them years to really refine it. It's better than Gilmore Girls.
Plus, it's a period piece, so it seems a little more justified to have that sort of snappy patter, you know. And I think she could take this if they were going to do a remake. And I know that I've heard Ryan Reynolds is involved in maybe a remake. Here's what you do: you give her a pass, you put it on a streaming service, give us 6 endings for every character. 6. Is that right?
Yeah, 1 per character.
Make sure there's per character, and then make it choose your own adventure, so that it's not a whole movie and then the last 3 minutes it's a winding road that you can go down. So you're actually kind of like playing the game to a certain extent. That would be a lot of fun.
It may be possible that that's what John Landis had in mind, that I think he was thinking, and that's what people will make of this. And
the technology wasn't there at the time to do that.
And even if it was, it would be questionable whether or not it would be achievable.
Yeah.
It's like a near impossible thing that he set out for himself, and it didn't work for a reason.
It didn't work, even though, you know, again, you're finding entertainment in that and having fun with that. And I think people who saw that on VHS, cable, DVD have a much better reaction to this movie than people who saw it in the theater, because it's much more of a rewind, see it again, all 3 endings all in a row. It just makes a little more sense to do it that way. But I'd be interested to see if there's, I mean, I went back and watched and read some reviews from the day, and it really got trashed by everybody. But I think it was because of that. It was because of that, you know, because of the trying to do the three ending things, they just didn't find the movie satisfying enough to go back a second time or even a third time.
Yeah, this film is not for everybody. It's kind of a showgirls-y thing. Like, you either really love it because you get it and it's just your shit and it's your garbage and you're proud of it, or it's not your thing and you're like, I don't, like you said, I laughed 4 times. You are not
garbage.
The first. Yeah, right. This is totally my hot garbage, and I don't, you know, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and this is absolutely gold to me. This film is just, I put it on such a pedestal, and you would not be the first person that I've heard say they laughed 4 times, and they could count their laughs on one hand and have fingers left over. Yeah, it's either your thing or it's not. It's totally my thing. And what's weird is that you and I have similar taste, especially in humor, and still we are completely divided on this. This film is quite a phenomenon. It really is. Like, how is that possible, you know?
Yeah. Well,
possibly it could be my nostalgia too, really getting in the way of it. Like when you see something in your formative years that changes you, especially as an actor.
Yeah.
It can be quite a thing.
Well, you're seeing, especially from Tim Curry and some of the other ones as well, but especially from Tim Curry, you're seeing big choices. You're seeing, you know, he is making some very definitive choices too, that sometimes don't add up to what we get to the end. which is another problem with the movie, is that it's like we get all these big choices and then we get it kind of the rug pulled out from underneath us at the end, where it's like, but this is what really is going on. And it's like, is it? I rewound a couple times after watching one of the endings, and he was like, well, you noticed that this person wasn't in that scene. And it's like, so I rewound it. That person was in the scene.
Really?
They just made it up.
Because usually they're good about that. Usually they're good about that when someone's not supposed to be there, they won't be there.
Yeah.
That has always added up for me. But yeah, the ending has some issues. The biggest issues, I would say, are how did people not see this person leave the group?
Yeah.
Why did no one notice that this person wasn't there? Because they're not supposed to be there. They're not there. Okay, fine. But how did no one notice? And how did no one hear, like, the cook screaming? There are a couple of times that's not accounted for. That's only accounted for, I think, in the Mrs. Scarlet done it part. Right. Every other time the cook screams, like, how? There's a lot of unanswered questions here. Like, people get real lucky. Like, Yvette, how did she know that knife was going to be there when she opened the door? Conveniently there. Also, you're going to the kitchen to stab the cook. Why not just use a kitchen knife? It'd be a lot safer and a lot quicker and a lot. I've always wondered that. Always. I'm like, I just don't understand why she. And how is no one, while they're all examining the bullet hole on the wall, you're going to tell me that I'm looking at the people have their backs completely looking at the door that she's coming into to pick up the knife. I mean, someone would see her, y'all. Like, it's crazy. Yeah. And then she comes back to the billiard room and screams. How did she know to scream? She was out of the room when they were talking about the poison brandy. It makes no sense. No, it does not make any. Yeah. It's like, they were high and no one cared to make it make sense. That's the only thing I can imagine. Because very, very few. There's also, like, it's never explained how anyone ever kills that cop in the because the library was locked, man. Never explained how anyone gets that key. Yeah. And that, it is a bummer because, when you ask the question, is this a murder mystery? The answer is pretty much no, because it's not solvable. The movie doesn't play fair. But again, I watched it 500 times and kind of never noticed. I mean, I noticed that things didn't add up, of course, but I never noticed this much until I really looked at it this time.
It's way more of a comedy than it is a mystery, for sure. Yeah. But like I said, it's like you said, it's a gateway drug. You're going to see that as a kid and go, ooh, and then go off into other directions and then see, like, some real mysteries.
It's the energy of the murder mystery that I fell in love with. That this film is all, and it's all mood, it's all ambience, it's all energy, and it's not at all any depth or meat of what a murder mystery is, which is a puzzle mystery. Yeah. This has no puzzle, and if there is one, it's unsolvable. So not murder mystery.
I would have loved to see this movie shot better. It's a little too TV, like, a lot of two shots, a lot of master shots, but not like, there's a way.
Poor Jonathan Lynn had never directed a film before. And
I know. And it kind of shows.
It does.
But you hire a good DP and the DP goes, no, what you want to do. And he like sits you down and shows you like 5 Hitchcock films and be like, you need to shoot some of this from above. You can zoom in on things. You can track things here. You can play with the lighting. There's one part where they're playing with the lighting with all the eyes, and it's the only time they do something like that. And it's like, no, you've got this spooky mansion. You've got the goods.
You've got all the goods.
And you've got all these amazing comic actors. All you got to do is put a little more style into that and, like, give this, wake up Tom Stoppard one more time and just be like, take a pass, please. Just one pass. Just because Stoppard could do it. I mean, or Anthony Perkins or any of those guys could make this a little more mysterious and a little more
yeah, I just wish I could have seen with Sondheim and Perkins, because they were really into it. They were really jazzed about doing it, and they had a bunch of like lunches, to write and everything, and they were in, and they had written a good chunk of it. But then when Paramount got wind of how much money they wanted, I think the quote was like, "Who do they think they are?" And John Landis was like, it's fucking Stephen Sondheim and Anthony Perkins. That's who they think they are, bitches. Like, what are you talking about? But he had no choice. They wouldn't pay their fee.
Yeah. Yeah, and who knows what that movie would have been like? Who knows how successful that movie would have been if they'd had a little more sophistication in what they were doing. I think that could have been, again, you got the cast. You got to, and as far as intellectual property goes, Clue is about as good of a game you can turn into a movie. You've got characters, you've got personalities, you've got a setting, you've got a mystery.
That's the thing, actually, though, because you don't really have personalities. That's the thing. There is no story to Clue, and actually, Clue, once you get into it, it's kind of not the most exciting game. And especially unless you're playing with a whole bunch of people, it can be pretty easy to almost cheat at the game, and you're still playing by the rules, but yet just because I have the awareness of knowledge and like the ability to process of eliminate, it's like I can already start checking off boxes when I shouldn't technically be able to, but like just because I have eyes, I can win the game, So I remember as a kid loving to play Clue because I could win it so easy, especially if I was playing with like my little sister and her friends. But the thing that is kind of miraculous about this though is that there's nothing to Clue. It's just colors, names.
Sure.
Board game. So they really did start from absolutely nothing. There's a lot of rolling of the dice they played with this. An inexperienced director and nothing as a baseline, as a premise to go on. They had to build it from nothing.
I thought it was very smart that they turned those play pieces into like code names. So that I thought that was a very smart touch at the beginning. It's like, and I also liked the scene where they all get the weapons. Although it's like when I wanted like a little more reaction out of like, I got a wrench. Am I fixing something?
A lead pipe.
Yeah, a lead pipe. Are we plumbing? Is there a problem here? I mean, the noose and the gun and the knife, and of course Lesley Ann Warren with the candlestick. She's like,
a candlestick. What's this for?
What is this for?
It's true. She does have like the only line that in that moment where she gets to react with a line, and I just love her like her so unenthused. Like, I enjoy getting presents from strange men, and then she's like, "What are you giving me this?" And it's funny. It is funny now that I'm thinking about it. Like the men have Martin Mull and Michael McKean. They have no expression, and they are kind of deadpan as actors anyway. Like they're not known for their facial expressions, but then you see Eileen Brennan holding that knife and she's like, I've never held a dagger in my life. And then you see Madeline Kahn and she's just like with those big wide eyes, like looking at this rope. Like I remember watching her face in that moment as a kid and being like, she's kind of scary. What's going to happen? Like she was a little spooky, like a ghost or something, I remember, and that's what I'm saying is the energy of that is murder mystery, and it's like setting it up perfectly with giving you this deep murder mystery ambience, and this is what you're gonna get ready for it, and then doesn't really finish it because there's no murder mystery.
I want you to talk about now the genius of Lee Ving as Mr. Body. Now look, Lee Ving is a singer. Lord. He's a punk rock legend. He's in the band Fear. He's had surprisingly a lot of credits acting. He must be a nice guy. But it's like he's like doing a little De Niro. Like they've got his hair slicked back and he's doing a little bit of that.
He fancied himself a De Niro in this movie. Yes, he did.
Obviously, they couldn't get. I mean, I was thinking about Murder by Death and getting Truman Capote in that sort of role.
I was thinking, give me some Peter Falk, baby, in this as Mr. Body. I mean, please, reshoot. Yeah. Like, let's go. When I thought of that earlier today,
That's
I was like,
brilliant
Paul's gonna
casting.
agree.
That is brilliant casting.
This film is missing one Peter Falk. It is one Peter short. It's sad.
Yeah, because I didn't
as
feel.
a kid, I could tell
Yeah.
Lee Ving was other. Like, is this an actor I'm looking at? I don't think so. I could tell it as a kid.
Yeah.
I knew nothing. I was like,
And I don't think that's a. I don't think that's a bad choice for that.
Not like the other.
Yeah, I didn't think that was a bad choice for the character to be kind of outside that realm.
Sure.
But give me somebody that can play that.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of like, he's threatening but not. He's gruff or tough,
I don't find
but
him threatening
not.
at all. I find him
Exactly.
hilarious. I'm laughing
He's
at him. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah. You
And
know,
when,
that was like
lines when he says, "Can I just get my little bag from the hole?" I'm like, no, leaving. No, you cannot get your little
Right.
bag from the hole.
Right.
Sit down. Take a seat, sir. Little boy. It is so. It's just like I needed him. I need this character to be other in the way that he is intending to be, or purposeful and written into a script. Not because like I've never acted before. What do I do in front of this camera? He looks like he's just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. What do I do with my arms?
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume that maybe that was your least favorite performance in this
100%.
movie.
Yes.
Then I would like you to tell me who your favorite performance was.
I really, really struggle with this. And now after talking with you about it, I think I might even want to change my answer because I was going to say Tim Curry.
Mm-hmm.
But performance-wise, it's crazy that I say this, but when I was talking about Lesley Ann Warren, I meant it, and I was realizing how impressed I am with her as an actor.
Completely
right?
fair.
I can only see movies from the point of view of the actors, and this film is memorized. It's imprinted. It is copied into my brain. It lives rent free. I pay it to live in my brain. That's how good. That's how much I want it in there.
Wow, that's good. That's good living right there.
Truly, truly, and. There's never a moment when Miss Scarlet wasn't speaking to me as a kid. And it's not just because she was my aspiration as a little girl. Like, I think I want to be like her, the pretty lady, like and sexy and like dangerous and like all things that Jade grew up to mess around with. And yeah, I got into a lot of trouble, let's just say, because Miss Scarlet was my, like life goals.
Yeah.
Mistakes we make. So
she's your origin story.
Kinda,
Yeah.
I always had my sights set on a Miss Scarlet. Like I wanted to get with a Miss Scarlet and I kind of wanted to be that Miss Scarlet.
Sure.
And yeah, but I think that more than just that little girl and seeing this amazing woman, I truly do think that she's that captivating, that she's so funny. She's underplaying it, but then also randomly like over the top. Like her energy is just absolute perfection. And I think the thing about her that I love the most is her awareness of the ensemble. I feel that she's such a team player in this. I mean, they all are. Like they really all are. But her generosity and her attention that she is always giving to her other actors. She was the one who, because I can imagine Tim Curry, right, during this film. It's been said, he's always busy. He's stressed as fuck. The man hasn't eaten. He hasn't slept. He's sweating bullets. Like he's just, all he's focused on is, am I going to memorize, this and the next line? And because everyone for the whole second half of this film is pretty much just standing in Tim Curry's take while the camera rolls. And they're just watching him perform.
Yeah. Yeah.
So connecting, being the one actor who can really stand out in every moment of this film and connect with Wadsworth. Miss Scarlet and Wadsworth have a thing, an unspoken thing. They're dialoguing and there's no lines for them. And for her to probably tirelessly stick it out with Tim Curry, because on the set you can walk off when the camera, it's not your coverage. Like you don't have to stick around and support. But I can just see that Lesley Ann Warren is that actor who stuck around and supported, and that's why those invisible vibrations were coming from Tim Curry over to her, and they were always finding ways to side-eye each other. So it says, it just says a lot about her as an actor, but also her as a person. So that is why
I like it.
I will have to go with Miss Scarlet.
That's a
Lesley Ann Warren.
good choice. I mean, I'm going to go for the obvious one. I'm going to go Tim Curry. Just as I've said before, he really does shoulder this baby through, and as you just said, given so much to do. I mean, it is some heavy lifting that he has to do. And setting aside the endings, which kind of undercut everybody, that is such a great performance in just energy, and he's still playing the mystery of it in a satisfying way. Like, he doesn't go full comedy. There's still parts of it where he is really playing that mystery, and I really do appreciate that. I'm really mad at them for not letting Madeline Kahn off the leash a little bit more. I thought I want it because when she gets to play, I don't feel like they give her really much time to play in this, and I thought that was a bad.
Oh no, totally not. She is criminally underused, and I always felt that way. Always felt that way. Yeah. She should be used as much as Eileen Brennan, because I feel that Miss Peacock 100%. Gets a lot.
100%. Oh yeah, and I think she actually I think she gets too much, and they could have divvied that up a little bit more with Madeline Kahn. Yeah. Interesting.
You think she gets too much? Huh? Yeah. I don't know if I agree there. I think Eileen Brennan gets just the right amount. I think she's perfection here.
Yeah.
I really do. I can't imagine wanting less Eileen Brennan in this. No.
And I love Eileen Brennan. I mean, Private Benjamin, The Sting. I mean, these are great
But
movies,
again, this is my favorite performance by her, I think. Oh, no, maybe not. I don't think I can say that. No. She doesn't get to do enough, But this is up there. Yeah. She's pretty good. But yeah, I think Private Benjamin, that's probably my favorite role from Eileen Brennan.
She's fantastic. She's fantastic in it.
But like the way that she has the physical comedy too, when she like falls to the floor, fall into my arms, and she falls through his legs, or like for the whole second half of this film, how her hat is just always falling off and whacking her in the face. She's so good at the physical comedy. She's quite the genius in this.
But again, that fall into my arms, there was two things: the fall into my arms moment and the chandelier for the first time dropping Martin Mull. Yeah. There's an editing problem there. They pull away from stuff too fast, where it's like, I see where that was going and it was going to be funny, but they take another pass at that editing, guys, because you're just off by like a second. But that second, as you know, comedy timing, mystery is also timing. You got to get those things in the right spot, otherwise they don't click as well as you want them to.
Absolutely, you are so right, and that's why I think comedy murder mysteries are really hard to do, and they flop when they're great. They're like so great, they're rarely great, and they're often very dividing, like this. This. Well, I'll get into that in a second, but comedy timing, the reliance it has on timing, and murder mystery timing, you're right, so crucial that when it's even a little off, people will turn away in droves. They're like, I don't got time for this. Nope, you lost me. It's easy to lose people on both fronts. Yeah. Over the top comedies are tough. Yeah. But I think that this film, I was just thinking about it, is right now, it's got this huge cult following, and people are finding it and realizing how just great it is. I think that this film was written in the wrong time. It was not understood. The audience, the way that the world was, social media, GIFs or GIFs. I always forget how to say it because I'm an old lady.
Hard G.
GIF. That is it?
Yeah,
okay.
There you go.
GIFs were not a thing. This film is perfect for reaction GIFs, or little memes. Like, this film makes so much sense now. And I think it's crazy to think that that anyone could come up with it in the 80s. It was just, humor was so different. And I'm thinking about what you're saying now, and like the cheesy fall into my arms kind of moments, or like, I'm shouting. Those are the things that I laughed at as a child. Another thing I love about this film is that you can grow with it. And I've loved it just as much as now as I do when I was a kid, but for totally different reasons, because now the humor is the double entendre of, oh, what does your husband do? Nothing. He just lies around on his back all day. It sounds like hard work to me. Like the way Mrs. Scarlett delivers that, I mean, totally flew over my head as a kid. Or, you know, the Wadsworth quotes Alfred Lord Tennyson, and then the foreshadowing really of Mr. Green in that line, I prefer Kipling myself. The female of the species is more deadly than the male.
Oh, that's Martin Mull says that. Colonel Mustard says that.
Oh, right. Did I not say Martin Mull? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's like so much going on in that line because of what he's saying about women, what it says about him, but also it's like there's only 2 female murderers in the alternate murders at the end, so the female is more deadly. Like there's so much to it that I pick up on as an adult that is so funny, and it's like as my humor has changed, the things that I connect to the most in the film have changed, but there's still as much goodness as there was when I first, you know, was introduced to it. I can't gush enough about it.
I will say that this movie, you know, talking about comparisons and remakes and stuff like this might be one of the rare movies that might benefit from a remake. You know, that might actually with the right cast, like we were talking about before, with the right venue, do it on streaming, with the right sort of, you know, get your pitter patter, Amy Sherman Palladino pass on it. I think this might be better because I think, like you said, I don't think they have the technology. I don't think they had the thing that they wanted to do. Really make
the technology, the quick cutting that it needs. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Wadsworth, don't hate me for trying to shoot you.
Frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a damn. As I was trying to tell you, there are no bullets left in this gun, you see? 1 + 2 + 1.
I think that wraps up our conversation on Clue. A rave from Jade, a less than
shocking
rave from Paul. Yes.
We're going to get a lot of that as well as we do this MVP series. We're going to get a lot of Jade just loves it because nostalgia, because murder mystery. It's like, it's just my shit, man. It is my shit.
Yeah.
One man's trash,
I want you to I want to listen to you love it. That's what I want to do. And I will try not to stomp all over your treasure.
I might even be able to get you to love it more. I mean, do you love Clue a little bit more now after talking to me about it? Probably.
No. But
no, actually, no, not at all.
No, because I'm enjoying listening to you. I'm enjoying listening to you love it, and that's great. There's plenty of movies out there that I absolutely adore that I would not expect anybody else to love.
Yeah.
So it's again, it's you grew up with it. It's nostalgia. It's the entry to your passions. It's everything. And for me, it's a movie that I saw when I was 17. Didn't think much of it then and didn't think much of it now. And both of those takes are fine, everybody. You know, love the thing you love and go from there.
Yes. 5 million stars from me.
5 million stars from Jade. 2.5 from me.
Wow.
We'll do that. What a scale. Maybe I should do 2.5 million. I don't know. We'll figure out the scales on these as we go. But thank you everybody for tuning in and listening to us pontificate about Clue. And we're going to pick out another murder mystery movie soon and get that back up for you as well. Don't forget anything, but mostly don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Shall We Compare Thee. That's all one word, guys. And we'd love to hear from you, get your feedback. So message us on Instagram, message us on Facebook. If you've still got email, if you're old like me, you still have email. Shall we compare thee at gmail.com or voicemails.
We
Jade
really love voicemails.
Loves voicemails.
I
Give her some voicemails, guys. It's the feed crack that she lives on.
Yes, I need my feed crack. I'm so hungry for it. I'm addicted.
And for even more bonus content, you can go to patreon.com/perfectly marvelous podcast and listen to all of our Shall We Compare These and Perfectly Marvelous podcast ad free. That means no ads, guys. That's none.
None.
And you can see full videos of us talking and so many other good things.
Yes.
So go to that Patreon, buy Jade that cup of coffee she so richly deserves.
Yeah. Screw Starbucks. Throw it to me for a day. Also, my Instagram is Jade the Naked Lady, all one word, and I'm Jade8Green on TikTok. All of these links are in the description. All right, listeners, announcement, one more for you. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, and chances are you did if you got all the way to the end, I mean, bravo to you. So be sure to subscribe to Paul's and my Shall We Compare the podcast feed so you never miss a new episode. Just wanted to let you know, we've got a bunch of episodes already there. For example, we discussed Psycho, comparing 1960 film to 1998 remake. We've got a Peter Pan episode where we discuss 4 different versions of Peter Pan, my favorite being the truly incomparable Mary Martin version from 1960. I gush pretty shamelessly about that one, so if you know, you know. And we also covered Indiana Jones, comparing Raiders of the Lost Ark to the recent Dial of Destiny. That one got pretty heated, as you can imagine. And we've got 2 episodes talking about the Barbie movie, one where we compare it to Tyra Banks' Life Size and Life Size 2. That was pretty funny. Yeah, we have so much entertainment that awaits you. So head on over there, Shall We Compare Thee, check it out, subscribe, do all the things, and if you enjoyed us, if you are getting a kick out of listening to all of our shenanigans, then please just beat up on those 5 stars. Just punch them, spank them, slap them, do whatever you want to do. It really helps us out so much. Thank you, my lovely, lovely listeners. I truly have enjoyed my time talking to you, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Until next time, I'm Jade.
And until next time, I'm Paul.
Bye-bye.